Hey guys, welcome to this tutorial on the Go programming language. So in this tutorial, we are going to look at how we can do error handling in the Go programming language. So in for error handling purposes in Go programs, Go language provides us a package called errors that we can import, and then we can use that package to create an error called something went wrong, right? So this is usually the way we are going to create errors. Now, what can be the scenarios where an error happens? So we'll take an example. We'll take an example of form submission where a user is trying to submit email and password. So we will do this using a command line tool. So let's say that I have, let me just print line. So let's say enter email, and this is going to scan that email that the user enters. So I'm just going to use a reference here, and I am going to need a variable, two variables. One is email of the data type string, then password of the data type string, right? So once I scan the email, what's going to happen is we have to validate this email as well. So I'm going to create here a function called as validate email inside my main.go file itself, and this validate email is going to take uh, this email as an argument, and it might return two things, either a string or an error. So what I'm doing here is I'm basically returning two data types from this validate email function. One is a string and one is an error. So we are going to now check if this email is valid or not. Okay, let me remove the password variable for now. So how do we check that this email is valid or not? So the Go standard library provides us a really good method called parse address. So we can just ignore the return value from this method called as mail.parseAddress, and we can pass email as an argument to this parse address method. So if we don't get an error, or if we get an error, so if error is not equal to nil, so nil is a keyword used in Golang whenever the error is, whenever you are going to get an error. So this is how you do the error handling. So we have to mention, if error is not equal to null, this means that there is some error that has happened, and in that case we are going to return the email string and also the error. So it is going to be errors.new, and we will say that email is not okay. We can just return the error itself, the error message that we get from the function, instead of creating a new error, right? Else, if we don't get an error, then what we can do, we can just return the email as it is, and instead of returning the error, we will just return nil. Now this function, it's not been used, so let's now try to use this function over here. So I'm just going to ignore the string that has been returned, and if I get an error, I'm going to store it in an error variable, and then we were going to just validate this email and pass email as an argument over here. So now we need to do the error handling again here as well. If error is not equal to nil, then we will just print. This time I'm going to use the print format so that we can just format the error that we get from this validate email method. So this underscore here represents a blank operator, that means we are just ignoring this email that has been returned from this function. But definitely if there is an error, we are just checking if there is an error. Else, if there is no error, then we are going to say email is valid, right? So this is how we do basic error handling in the Go programming language. Okay, all I need is the errors package, and then I can call the new method from that errors package to create another error. So here in this example, we have not actually used the errors package, but because we are getting the error from this parse address method itself. So if I try to run this program now, so let's go ahead and say go run main.go. You can see that enter email prompt is coming. Now I just need to enter an email. So let's say I enter a wrong email. Let's say I just say Sam. It's going to give me the error missing @ or angled address, right? If I run this again and this time I say sam@gmail.com, it's going to give me email is valid. As the output, let me just change this to print line. So let's run this again. And you can see I'm getting email is valid.